Loops are pretty much the same in C++ as in Java. So we have three main kinds: while, do while, and the for loop. For loop is the natural one that if you're using an array, you've just got to expect for loops to be around somewhere. You can also use while loops with arrays, sure, or do whiles, but for just about every array, it's a for loop that makes sense. It's a natural counting loop. You count through all the locations in an array. And there's really not much new here. The only thing, I guess, would be just like we saw in if statements, the Boolean expression can be a single integer. So that is a little confusing. That's not allowed in Java. That is, you can't have a Boolean expression that's just an integer. You have to have a valid Boolean expression, and that's much cleaner, I believe. Unfortunately, C programmers and C++ programmers tend to use integers for their Boolean expressions. So for example, instead of saying while true, which you can do in C++, a lot of C++ programmers will say while 1. So it'd be better if people used the while true like in Java. Makes it cleaner. Unfortunately, C++ sort of sticks to its C roots. Okay, so this is a simple example. And you should be able to see this and figure out how many times this loop body is executed. Okay. Do whiles work differently only in that you're guaranteed to execute the loop body or the statement at least once. So that's the difference between do whiles and whiles, same as in Java. It's possible that this Boolean expression could be false the first time you encounter the while, and so you skip the loop completely. That is possible. In this case, it's not. In this case, count to 0. 0 less than 3 is true. And so you will be guaranteed to execute the loop body once in this case. But it is possible, if this Boolean expression is false, that you do not execute the loop body at all. Do whiles, you're always guaranteed that the loop body, in this case the statement or this compound statement, will be executed at least once. Okay. Yeah, so do while loops always execute the body at least once. While versus do while, very similar, but the difference is when is this Boolean expression checked. In the case of the while, it checks before the body is executed. In the case of the do while, the Boolean expression is checked after the body is executed. So besides this, they're basically the same. Which one is more common? Let's say you're looking at some code that's asking the username, asking a user for a password. You might want to use a do while, because you ask at least once. And if the password is correct the first time, you just exit the loop. If it's not correct, you go back and ask for a password again. So, do while would make sense there. You could use a while statement too, but the natural choice when you're asking for a password or something like that would be a do while. So that's one situation. Okay, the comma operator is something that is available in Java, but we seldom use it. We can use it. There are many situations where you can use it, but it's mostly used in a for loop. So in each of the three parts of the for loop, for int I equals 0, you can have int I equals 0, comma, int or j is equal to 5, and so on. You can have any number of things there. And then also in the third part of the for loop, where you're doing an I++, let's say, for int I equals 0, I less than 5, I++. Instead of I++, you can have I++, comma, j++, and so on. You can do that in Java. You can do that in C++ as well. In C++, there is no guarantee what order the expressions will be evaluated. So if you have some kind of dependencies, you might want to worry about that. So if you're assigned, in this case, you're assigning the value 2 to first, but then you're setting second is equal to first plus 1, and then so second gets the value 3, and the result of this whole thing is the value of the last expression. So that's what this means. You evaluate a list of expressions separated by commas, and then the result of the last value is the result of the whole thing. So this, you can think of it as this thing returning a value. It's not, I don't think it's strictly speaking it's a returning anything. It's just the value of this whole expression is the value of this last sub-expression, this thing. Okay, so this is saying 2 plus 1 is equal to 3, and remember that for an assignment, the value of the assignment expression is the value that's assigned, which is 3, so you get 3 into first. That's why it says here first gets assigned the value 3, second also has the value 3. Okay, this is pretty much the same as in Java. For loop, same thing, except remember Boolean expressions can be a single int. Init action can be int I equals 0 or int I equals 0 comma j equals 0. That would be 2 ints. And update action can be I++ comma j++ if you want. Most of the time we don't see that. We just see a simple for loops that we've seen in Java. Okay, so here's a simple example. You might want to figure out how many times does this print out hi. Okay, so remember you do this first, initialization first, and you can put in an int count equals 0 here. Then you check the Boolean expression. If it's true, you do this, update, check, loop body, update, check, and so on. All right. So just remember there's this triangle you go. This you always do once, then after that, check, loop body, update, check, loop body, update. Okay, so the loop's condition expression can be any Boolean expression. So it can be as complicated as you want, or you can be just a single int. Watch out for things like misplaced semicolons. If you put in a while and then a Boolean expression and then a semicolon, what you're saying it really is while, as long as this response is not equal to 0, do nothing. So this compound statement is just considered to be just a compound statement sitting by itself that's executed after the while loop is done. This is true in Java too. So it'll tell you, but the Java compiler will probably warn you. Some Java compilers will warn you saying that there's a possibility that you'll never reach this statement, the next statement, whatever that is. And so sometimes Java compilers are smart and at least warn you. It doesn't give you an error message. So no compiler can say that this will be definitely an error, because programmers can do this. This is valid C++ syntax, valid Java syntax, and so who knows? Compilers are not going to try to guess what the programmer is trying to do, and so they will. Almost every compiler will say this looks fine. But you can see that if you do nothing and you don't change the value of response, if this is true the first time around, then it'll stay true, and so you have an infinite loop. Okay, so. And basically there's seldom a good reason to have an empty loop body for the while, which is what you have here. Okay, so watch out for that. As we said before, you can have a while one. Java will not let you do that. This is true. This is valid in C++, and the one means true. So this is just like saying in Java you would say while true, system.out.println hello. In C++ you can say while 1. Sometimes you do use infinite loops, and that's why the C++ and the Java compiler, they don't try to warn you even if the compiler detects infinite loop, it doesn't signal that as an error. You might at the most get a warning. Okay, break and continue work the same way as in Java, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Break just gets you out of a loop, goes to the next statement after the loop body. Continue skips a loop body wherever it is in the if statement, wherever it is in the loop body, and goes back to the beginning of the loop. So this break gets you out, continues to the next iteration. Okay, so it's true that these statements violate the natural flow. If you can write if loops without break and continue, great. If sometimes you need them. So as they say, use only when absolutely necessary. You can use loops inside loops, so same as in Java. Use the open-close curly braces even if you just have a single loop inside a loop. You can get away with not using curly braces, but still a good idea to do that. Okay. All right, so that's it for this chapter. If you have any questions, definitely ask. Bottom line, I think, is that loops work pretty much the same. The one difference is that this expression here for checking if you're done with the loop, that can be a single int. Unfortunately, that's C++ lets you do that.